Thank you very much, Lorenzo, for the introduction. Indeed, we are a very small NGO, and we operate in the sustainability domain. We have seen yesterday and today how much overlap there is between environment, health, and Earth observation data. And today, really, I'm here to give you a quick overview of what we do. But mostly, I'm here to share ideas of how we could become users of EO data. Given the expertise in the room, I'm sure you will also have a lot of ideas. So please help us and share your thoughts. As I said earlier, we are a small NGO founded by a group of environmental engineers. We promote sustainable development models in the communities that we operate. And we have a few principles that you can see on the screen: participation of local communities. Obviously, we want to set projects up in a way that can then be managed by the local communities and not by us. And we promote equity, environment, and economy as our principles. What is the context that we operate in? Just for you to get a better idea of where we are. We operate in sub-Saharan Africa, specifically Madagascar. I don't know how many of you know, if many of you know a lot about Madagascar, but there is a very fragile health system that, coupled with poor sanitation, unfortunately, gives us an environment which is really prone to infectious diseases thriving. There is high food insecurity and a lot of climate disasters that have been recorded in past years that again are resulting in very affected livelihoods for the people of Madagascar. We operate both in urban and rural contexts. Each one has different challenges. In urban contexts, we see poor domestic air quality, low and scarce waste management systems. And in rural contexts, our challenges mostly relate to low availability of electricity or none at all, open defecation, and low availability of clean water. So complicated, but we're there and we operate there. We do the best that we can. A very quick overview of the projects that we do. The first project is operating in the areas of agriculture, wash, and nutrition. As Loretta mentioned very clearly, this is to improve the health conditions of local communities through better nutrition. We are also trying to develop improved cook stoves, which should solve, at least we hope so, the environmental and health impacts of traditional cooking methods, which result in very poor indoor air quality. And we're also trying to find alternatives to conventional fuels, which are cause of deforestation and also cause of poor indoor air quality. More interestingly, though, for me and for us today is how can we use Earth observation data linked to health? Now, these are our ideas, but as I said initially, we are very interested in hearing from you. First of all, we do work in the agroforestry domain. So we create vegetable gardens where none were there before. We could be using Earth observation data for the detection and monitoring of pest outbreaks. This would help us in understanding what is the right amount of pesticides that needs to be used, minimizing the use of pesticides and hence having a positive impact on human health. We could also use it in the same mindset for nitrogen fertilizer requirements, again, trying to minimize as much as possible the health impacts that are linked to drinking water contaminated by nitrogen. When setting up these vegetable gardens, we also set up the irrigation systems that are necessary for these agri-projects. And again, we've seen today a lot about water and how pathogens and pests can be transmitted through water. This is the same for irrigation systems. We could be using EO data to understand better whenever we are setting up an irrigation system, what are the potential pathogens that we would be introducing in a certain area, and coupled with the monitoring of water quality to understand what type of pollutants are present in the water that we use in our projects. And lastly, more broadly, I think we could also be using EO data across Madagascar, not just necessarily in the small areas that we operate, to understand how we can mitigate the risk in case of contamination or infections in villages before this spreads out. And lastly, more towards transversal research and development activities, we are, of course, in the field, so we can use EO data, but also verify it. And just very quickly, in terms of other uses of Earth observation data, you know it better than I do, but just as a refresher, especially in the field of agriculture, we could be using it for prediction of growth stage of the crops and their yield, the tracking of weather patterns, especially because Madagascar is very much impacted by climate change, so we know what that entails, the identification of soil characteristics, specifically soil moisture, which is very important for us, but also an analysis of land use and land cover change. Last but not least, what we actually can do in the field in terms of data collection. We have experience in collection of physical samples that goes from water samples from wells to biomass waste samples in urban and rural contexts. We can carry out measurements and analyses in the field. You can see a beautiful weather station that we set up in one of the islands where we operate. We carry out GPS mapping, piezometric well depth, and conductivity tests. But also we collect data knocking at people's doors, so household data collection. We have done it through questionnaires right now, but are also open to using apps. And we do carry out research and development projects together with the universities. One example here is we've done a mapping of the flora and fauna species that can be found in the region where we operate. And last but not least, we also can collect health/disease data in collaboration with NGOs that operate, again, in the field and in the medical domain more specifically. One example is the Nave Ospedale Elpis, which is a boat that tours not just Madagascar, but many other countries and collects health data. So this is us. I'm glad that I didn't see any papers telling me I was running out of time. So I think I've done well in that sense. And Lavinia is the vice president of Kukula, and you can see her here. She's facilitating the session, and I'm over there. This is Andrea, who is our president. That's it.